My husband had another family, and I was paying their rent. The morning I paid my husband's rent, I had no idea I was also paying for the apartment where he lived with another woman. I made the transfer myself. I remember sitting on the couch with my phone in my hand, smiling while the confirmation notification popped up. To me, it was just another sacrifice for our future. What I didn't know was that the money I sent that morning was helping him maintain a life I wasn't even part of, a life with someone else and a child who called him daddy. But let me start from the beginning.
When I married Tunde, he had almost nothing. No stable job, no business, no savings, just dreams, big dreams, and I believed in him. I wasn't the type of woman who expected a perfect man. I believed in building together. So when he told me he wanted to start a business, I supported him. When he said he needed a laptop to begin working, I bought it. When rent was due and he didn't have enough money, I paid it. At first, it felt normal. Marriage is partnership. At least that's what I believed. My friends didn't see it that way. They would sit with me and shake their heads. Amara, they would say, you are doing too much. But I defended him every time. I would smile and say, you don't understand him the way I do. He's working hard. He just needs time. And for a while, I really believed that.
But slowly, things began to change. At first, it was small things, little things that were easy to ignore. Tunde started coming home later than usual. He said it was business meetings. Sometimes he wouldn't come home until after midnight. If I asked where he had been, he would sigh like I was bothering him. Amara, I'm doing all this for us. So I stopped asking. Then his phone started changing. Before, he would leave it anywhere, on the table, on the couch, sometimes even in my hand. But suddenly, his phone was always face down, always with him, even when he went to the bathroom. And one night, I noticed he had changed the password. When I asked him about it, he laughed. You are not becoming one of those suspicious wives, are you? I felt embarrassed for even asking. So again, I ignored it. Weeks passed, then months. But something inside me kept whispering that something wasn't right. I just didn't know how wrong I was. The day everything began to fall apart started like any other. It was a quiet afternoon. Tunde had gone out, saying he had a meeting with a potential investor. I stayed home to finish some work. While I was sitting at the dining table, I remembered that I needed to print a document. My laptop battery was dead, so I decided to use his. I opened the laptop and logged in. At first, everything looked normal. Emails, business documents, nothing unusual. But then, a notification popped up on the screen. A bank notification. Normally, I would have ignored it, but something about it caught my attention. It was a transfer confirmation. Same amount, same date, every single month. I opened the transaction history, and that's when I saw it clearly. The description read, Rent Payment, Lekki Phase 1. I stared at the screen, confused, because we didn't live in Lekki. We lived in Surulere. At first, I tried to convince myself there was a simple explanation. Maybe it was a business partner, maybe it was an office, maybe. But the deeper I looked, the worse it became. This payment had been happening every month for almost 2 years. 2 years. My hand started shaking, but I didn't confront him. Not yet. Instead, I decided to find out the truth. A few days later, Tunde told me he had another late meeting. He grabbed his keys and left the house quickly. That night, I followed him. I kept a safe distance as I drove behind his car through Lagos traffic. Eventually, he turned into a quiet street in Lekki. My heart started beating faster. He parked in front of a modern apartment building. Then he got out of the car. I stayed inside mine and watched. He walked up to the entrance like someone who had been there many times before. No hesitation, no confusion, just confidence. Then he disappeared inside. Minutes passed. I kept staring at the building, trying to convince myself I was misunderstanding everything. Then, suddenly, the door opened, and Tunde stepped inside an apartment. A woman opened the door for him. She smiled when she saw him. Not the polite smile you give a stranger, the kind of smile you give someone you love. My stomach dropped. But what happened next shattered me completely. A little girl ran out from inside the apartment. She looked about 5 years old. Her hair was braided with colorful beads that bounced as she ran. She threw her arms around Tunde's legs and shouted happily, "Daddy! Daddy!" The word echoed in my head like thunder. Tunde bent down and lifted her into his arms. He hugged her the way fathers hug their children, comfortably, naturally, like it was something he had done 1,000 times before. The woman stood behind them, smiling like they were a family. And in that moment, sitting alone in my car across the street, I realized the truth. My husband didn't just have a secret relationship, he had another life, another home, another family. And for the past 2 years, I had been paying for it. That night, when he came home, I was waiting for him. The house was silent. He walked in casually, dropping his keys on the table. "Hey," he said, "why are you still awake?" I looked at him and asked one simple question. "Who is she?" He froze, just for a second, but that second was enough. Then he laughed nervously. "Who are you talking about?" I watched his face carefully. Then I said her name and the name of the little girl. The color drained from his face. For the first time since I met him, he had no words. But what he didn't know was that before that night, I had already spoken to the other woman. And the truth was even worse than I imagined. She didn't know about me. She believed she was his only wife. To her, I was the other woman. For 3 years, Tunde had been living 2 different marriages, 2 homes, 2 lies, and 1 person paying for everything. Me. That night, I took off my wedding ring and placed it on the table. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just looked at him and said something he will probably never forget. I didn't lose my husband tonight. I lost a liar. And that's not a loss. Then I walked away. And for the first time in years, I felt free.